Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. It's time to talk about all of the books that I read in 2023. According to my Goodreads, I've read a total of 83 books. My Goodreads reading goal was set to 75 books. I feel like I just didn't read as many amazing books. I think I had like a total of 8 to 5 stars, which is not great. I feel like a better way to kind of like get a comprehensive look at how my reading year actually went is to do a tier ranking of all of the books that I read. To get us started, I'm going to explain my tiers. Let's actually start from the bottom. Didn't like, don't recommend. These are books that I didn't like, and I don't really know who would actually like them, therefore I cannot recommend them. Above that tier, we have not for me. These are books that I just personally didn't really like, but I can see how some people might enjoy them. I feel like there is an audience for them. And then the next tier above that is pretty much self-explanatory. It's mid. There's nothing really special about them. I don't really have any strong feelings about these books. They're mid. You guys know what mid means. And then above that, we have the thank you next tier. These are books that are like, hey, thank you. I had a really good time reading you, but I'm probably not going to spend a lot of time thinking about these books again. Therefore, thank you. On to the next book. The tier above that, we have the best of the rest. These are some books that I really enjoyed, but they're not like my favorite books. You know what I mean? They're the best outside of my favorite books. You know what I'm saying? And then above that, obviously, is the highest tier. These books are my ride or die books. I love these books so much. These are my favorite books that I've read this entire year. They're probably some of my favorite books of all time. These books are pretty much perfection in my mind. Now we're gonna get on to the fun part. The first book that I have on here is City of Lost Souls. This was the first book that I finished in the beginning of the year. This is the 5th book in the Mortal Instruments series. I absolutely love this series. I've talked about this series so many times. It's just a very nostalgic read for me. This is probably one of my favorite in that series, but it's not like a ride or die book. So this one is gonna go on the best of the rest tier. Loved it, but it's not like, you know, 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. This book was so much fun. I'm gonna put this one in thank you next. I feel like this book had a lot of the elements that I really look for in a thriller. I was engaged the whole time. There were like multiple points where my jaw was literally hanging, but I don't really think about it that much. And then I read The Secret History. If you are new here, if you have not seen any of my other videos, I talk about this book way too many times. This is 100% a ride or die book. This is like in my top 3 faves of all time. I love this book so much. This book is definitely not for everybody, but there is just something about this book like that just did it for me. The writing was beautiful. Like it was so good. This is like one of those books that I feel like I could genuinely write a 10-page essay on this single-spaced. Addicted After All by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is part of the Addicted Calloway series. I just love the series so much. The character development, the way that the characters are written, just they feel like real people. I feel like these people actually exist in Philly somewhere, and right now they're living their lives. This one's going on the best of the rest here. I liked it a little bit more than City of Lost Souls actually, so I'm gonna put it ahead of that. And then the next book is, oh my god, I read so many good books in a row in the beginning of the year. Pure Nessie by Susanna Clark. Oh my goodness, this book took me by surprise. I went into this book thinking that I was gonna like it. Obviously, I never go into a book thinking I'm gonna hate it, but I had no idea how much I was gonna love this book. This is one of those books that I think about every single day still. So obviously that is going on the ride or die tier. Blackmail in Bibinka by Mia Piman and Sala. This one is part of the Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mystery. It's a cozy mystery series. I'm not really a cozy mystery series reader, but I really like this series because the characters just remind me of my family. I feel like I talk about the series all the time. I'm gonna put it in the thank you next tier because I never really think about these books except for when I'm actually reading them. How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black. This is Prince Carden's novella from the Cruel Prince series. It's one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. I love Holly Black's writing. I love this world. Therefore, I obviously really enjoy this one. But to be honest with you, I'm not really a novella girly. The only thing that I really remember about this book is how beautiful it is. There's just gorgeous illustrations throughout it, but I don't really remember what happened in the story. So I'm gonna put this one in thank you next before Blackmail and Bibinka. And then by the same author, we have The Stolen Heir. This one is a spin-off series of The Cruel Prince. I really enjoyed this book. Again, I love Holly Black's writing, but it's definitely not as good as the Cruel Prince series. I do remember thinking that this book reminded me so much of Frozen. Maybe it's because like the story is like inspired by some sort of Nordic folk tale or fairy tale or something like that. I am gonna put it into thank you next here before King of Elfham because I definitely enjoyed it more than that. We Spread by Ian Reid. This one is a literary horror book. I have never read a literary horror before this. I enjoyed the themes of this book. I enjoyed the imagery, I enjoyed the writing, but I didn't really connect all that much with the main character, which is kind of strange. Like, I don't know, everything about this book, I feel like I should have loved it. But overall, I just thought it was mid. Then we have Requiem by Callie Hart. This book is Wattpad at its finest. Reading this book made me feel like I was back in middle school with my phone in my bed, staying up way too late, reading my little Wattpad stories. This story is so ridiculous. It has all of the craziness that a Wattpad story has. It was highly entertaining. It is not like groundbreaking literature by any means, but it was so much fun. I'm gonna put this into thank you next here, above King of Elfham, The Fraud Squad by Kyla Zhao. Immediately gonna put this one in didn't like, don't recommend. This is definitely one of my biggest disappointments of the year. This book just did not deliver in any of the promises that it made. Like, it was so boring. I didn't like anything. Like, it was whatever. I did not like this book. Sorry. Not sorry. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. We have a classic. I think this might be the only classic that I read last year, actually. But you know what? I love this book. I was hooked from the very first sentence, which is very rare, but even more so in classics. This book is gonna go in my ride or die tier, and I think it's gonna go before Piranesi. Jane Eyre is one of the most relatable female characters I've ever read about, and this book was written in the 1800s. I don't know if that's actually a testament to Charlotte Bronte's amazing writing, or if that's more of a testament to society. A lot of the trials and tribulations of being a young woman in 1800s is somehow still applicable in 2023. I don't know, but I love this book. The writing was exquisite, the beautiful language, everything about it. I would not change anything about that book. Fuel the Fire by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is another book in the Addicted Calloway series. Everything that I have to say about this book, I already said about Addicted After All. Same exact things. These characters feel real. I love them so much. So I'm gonna put this one in the best of the rest. Then we have Shadow Princess, Zodiac Academy #4. I have a love-hate relationship with the Zodiac Academy series. I enjoyed books 2 and 3. I didn't really care for book 1, and this book made me not want to continue the series again. The main character, who was my favorite character in books 2 and 3, she became absolutely insufferable in this book. I did not like her at all. This book was very frustrating. So I'm gonna put this one in mid before We Spread. Cruel Illusions by Margie Fuston. This one was okay. This had elements that reminds me of Caraval because there's like this traveling magician group. There's vampires involved. There's vampire slayers involved. Definitely did read like a classic YA fantasy. So I'm gonna put this one in thank you next, and I think I'm gonna put it before King of Elfham. Next up is probably the most unhinged book that I read this entire year, and that is Priest by Sierra Simone. And I heard people mention that this is a priest romance, and when I heard that, I was like, sign me the fuck up. That sounds like a good time. It was, you know, this book was a lot. It felt like I was doing something wrong the whole time I was reading it. But it was highly entertaining. It was a very quick read. I think it's like 300 something pages long, but it did not feel like it. It felt like it was like 100 something page book. I am gonna put this one in the thank you next. If You Could See the Sun by Anne Liang. This one is a YA magical realism book set at an international school in Beijing. It was an interesting read. I liked the characters. The ending of it kind of left me unsatisfied. I just wanted a little bit more closure from it. This one's kind of difficult. I don't know where to put this. Is it mid or is it? No, it's not mid. I think it's going into thank you next. I liked it more than Priest. Next up is The Crown's Game by Evelyn Skye. This book is one of the oldest books, if not the oldest book on my physical TBR, and it was mid. I will say I liked it a little bit more than We Spread. I like the imagery, I like the magic, but there was a very insufferable love triangle in this book. I'm not even a love triangle hater, but this love triangle was particularly bad. Alright, next up we have Daisy Hates by Miss Jessa Hastings. This is one of my favorite series of all time. God, I love this series. I know it's not for everybody, very toxic, but I love it. I love the writing. However, Days of Hates in particular, definitely not my favorite in the series. In fact, this is probably my least favorite in the series thus far. Whenever I think of that series, I don't ever think about this book. Again, like I said, I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed the writing. I love Jess's writing. And this book introduced me to my favorite book boyfriend of all time, Mr. Julian Hates. So obviously, I still love this book. I'm gonna put this one in thank you next here, but like in the very top of it. Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Miss Talia Hibbert. This is my very first Talia Hibbert book I've ever read. It was okay. It was cute. It was fun. It was fluffy. I think it had really good OCG representation, but I don't know. There's nothing really remarkable about it. It was mid. I'm gonna put it in the top of mid though. The City of Nightmares by Rebecca Schaeffer. This one is another fairy loot book for me. I didn't really know anything about this book until I got it from a fairy loot blocks. I got it from a fairy loot box. It's like set in a city that is very similar to Gotham. I liked this book a lot. I don't really watch a lot of DC movies. I've never read a DC comic in my life, but this is genuinely like what I would imagine it would be like to live in Gotham and to be like in a DC movie or like a DC universe. I'm gonna put this one in the thank you next here. The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I'm gonna put that one in the best of the rest. This book is romantasy at its finest. I don't know why I have not continued on with that series. I need to do that. Quarterback Sneak by Candy Steiner immediately is going in mid, but I will say I liked it a little bit more than... Did I like it more than Zodiac Academy? No, I don't think I did. This one was not as good as Blindside by the same author. Blindside is also in the same universe as this book. They're like interconnected standalones. I don't know, I didn't like this one all that much. If He Had Been With Me by Lauren Allen. Here's the thing about me. If you're new here, hi, I am a bitch when it comes to sad books. I cry so easily when it comes to sad books or sad shows or movies. Somebody gets a paper cut, I'm in fucking tears. Like, I'm that bitch. I don't cry easily in real life, but when it comes to books, movies, anything, I'm crying. I thought I was gonna be absolutely bawling my eyes out with this book. The premise of it sounds so sad because bro dies. Like, we are told this in the very beginning of the book, that the love interest dies. So obviously that's sad, but maybe it's because we know that he dies. Maybe that's why, I don't know. Overall, like, this story was okay. This story is told in like short vignettes, so there's a very nostalgic feel to the book. It was good in that sense, but like other than that, I don't know. I thought it was kind of mid, not gonna lie. Sorry. I don't know why you said it like that. Ooh, First Down. This one is not for me. This one's a football. Is it football? I don't even remember. Soccer? No, that's football. College football romance. I did not like it. I didn't like the tropes. I didn't like the characters. It was not for me, but I can see why some people would like it. Control by Melissa Cassera. Bro, this book, why did I just say it like that, bro? This book is probably the most surprising book of the year for me because this book came out of nowhere. I saw one post on Instagram about this book and I was like, that sounds interesting. I bought it, I got it, and I read it the same day. That rarely ever happens for me. Like, this book was just, there was some crack. I don't know what was in the pages of this book, but it was so entertaining and I was hooked. And I can't even tell you why, because this story is like so strange. I think for that, I'm gonna put it in thank you next, but I'm gonna put it in the very top. Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I think that's going in the very top of the best of the rest. I love this book. I didn't think that I liked YA romance before reading this book. This book had everything that I like in a rom-com. Still had some depth, but it was very lighthearted. This book made me giggle, made me so giddy. It made me feel like I was 13 again. All right, next up is Catherine. Oh, there's not. That's the author. It's called The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. This one's a thriller. I feel like thrillers are like the definition of a thank you next book. They're entertaining while you're reading them, but you don't really think about them afterwards. At least I haven't read many thrillers that I've fixated on and think about a lot, so this is gonna go here. All right, we have a Breakaway. This is by Grace Riley again. This is in the same series as First Down. This actually involves the brother of the guy in First Down, and the only reason why I picked this one up is because we get like a hint of this couple couple in the first book and I was intrigued by them. It was not as bad as First Down, but it was not great either. So this one's going in mid. I think this author might just not be for me. There was something about it, like I just was not connecting with the writing. Murder Your Employer. This was a very unique book. I really enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the characters. There were parts of the book though that I feel like did drag, but I still really enjoyed this. So this is gonna go in the Thank You Next. It's gonna go before Priest. Next up is Priceless by Miranda Silver. This is a random book that I picked up. I just didn't know what to read and it was on Kindle Unlimited. It sounded intriguing. It was better than I thought it was gonna be, to be honest with you. But I don't really think about it ever, but you know, it was good while I was reading it. So I'm gonna put this one in Thank You Next before King of Elfheim. Yeah, that seems right. Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. This book again is gonna go in the Thank You Next tier before Requiem. Yeah, this one's gonna go before Requiem. This reminds me of the X-Hex, except like the spring version of the X-Hex. It's like a small town witchy romance, very cozy, cute, adorable. It was quite funny as well. Song of Silver Flame Like Nights. Oh my goodness, this book was so good. I'm gonna put this one at the lowest end of the best of the rest. I really enjoyed this book. This book was so fast-paced to the point where I feel like it was too fast-paced. Actually, is it the best of the rest or is it a Thank You Next? You know what? I'm sorry, I think it is. This one's a Thank You Next, but like at the very top of it. That feels more correct. Then we have The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. Lynn Painter, she just knows how to do a YA romance. This book was so cute. I didn't like it as much as better than the movies for sure, but I still really liked it. And I thought I wasn't gonna like this one because this had that like time loop trope, but I really enjoyed it in this one. This is gonna go in the best of the rest, just right after Better Than the Movies. And then I read Places We've Never Been by Casey West. I think at this point I'd run out of Lynn Painter YA romances and I wanted that YA romance feeling because I'm pretty sure this was like in the summer months and I feel like a cutesy YA romance is like the perfect book to read during the summer time, you know? So I picked this up because this is a YA romance and it was okay. It was very mid. I feel like whenever I think of a YA romance, this is what I think of, and this is why I think I don't really like YA romances. It's because a lot of them are written like Places We've Never Been. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with them, but I feel like they're books that I would have enjoyed so much more when I was like 12. Oh my god, next up we have Flawless by Elsie Silver. Listen, I was a changed woman after reading this book. I've always liked country music. I used to get made fun of for genuinely liking country music, but reading this book kind of reignited my love for country music. This book genuinely made me wish I was a country girl. I just wanted to live my own cowboy romance. This is going in the best of the rest. I think I liked it more than City of Lost Souls. Actually, no. Back up. This, I liked it more than Fuel the Fire. I didn't like it more than City of Lost Souls. Magnolia Park is a long way home. Immediately going on Ride or Die. I think I liked it more than Piranesi. Did I like it more than Jane Eyre? I think I did. No, I didn't. I didn't like it more than Jane Eyre. This book tore my heart out. Oh my god, my voice is breaking. What is going on? This book is the book that solidified the series as one of my favorite series of all time. I would just pick up my copy from time to time and just flip through it, reread a random part, and I'm immediately transported back into the story. I get all the feels again. Like it's one of those books. And then of course I also read Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is part of the Chestnut Spring series. This is my favorite one, right? I mean, I've only read these two, but I like this one even more than I liked Flawless. This is the one that I liked a little bit more than City of Lost Souls. This one is a single dad romance with a nanny. When I heard that, I was like, ooh, I'm probably not gonna like this one as much because I don't love age gap romances, but this book did it right. This book did everything right. So good. And then I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Oh my god. Miss Emily Henry. I binge read Emily Henry's books in the middle of the summer. I have a whole video on it because I had not read Emily Henry before this point, and oh my god, this book was such a pleasant surprise. I absolutely loved Book Lovers. This one is gonna go in the best of the rest. This book felt like a love letter to a book lover. Emily Henry is the queen of subverting romance tropes. She does a perfect balance of it being a rom-com and still having depth. But unfortunately, People We Meet on Vacation, I really didn't like all that much. I didn't hate it, but this one is just mid, you guys. Oh my god, I don't know what's going on right now. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. My camera died and I wasn't screen recording this whole fucking time. No. All right, I'm back. I fixed it. I've now switched to my laptop, so okay. And my dog just woke up. Hi, you're so cute. It's almost 3 a.m. I just had to take a break and I had to like rewatch everything that I just filmed and refilm the tier ranking parts that I was not recording. So now we are back where we left off. And the next book that we have here is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This book is immediately going in didn't like, don't recommend. I can't even tell you which one I liked more than Fraud Squad or kind of like, you know what? I'm gonna say that I actually liked this one a tiny bit more than Fraud Squad. Even if this one was just cringy, at least I felt more while reading this book than I did when I was reading the Fraud Squad. You know what I mean? But next up, we're back in the Emily Henry world again. I read Beach Read, which I liked even more than Book Lovers. And then we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. Happy Place was the one that I thought I was gonna like the least. I think it was because the way that it was pitched, there was gonna be like a second chance romance type of thing. And like, I don't know, like the way that this book was described to me, for some reason I didn't think that I was gonna like it. This book is immediately going in Ride or Die. And I think I liked it just a tiny bit more than Piranesi. I was crying throughout most of this book. Emily Henry was able to put into words feelings that I have had for a very, very long time, for most of my life really, but I've never been able to articulate properly. I saw so much of myself in both Win and Harriet. I've never felt more seen by a book than I did when I was reading this book. If you can hear that chewing, that is my dog chewing on his bone. Just excuse it. When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi, this is the only memoir I read this year, I think. This is definitely goes in the best of the rest category because I think this book teaches a lot of really important lessons. All right, and next up we have Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This one is a reread for me. I love this book so much. I've already talked about how much I love the Shadowhunter Chronicles. This is a part of the Infernal Devices series. It's going in the best of the rest, and I think I'm gonna put this just above City of Lost. No, I'm gonna put this just under City of Lost Souls, actually. This was not my favorite in the series. Clockwork Prince, I think, is my favorite in the Infernal Devices series. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Probably the most viral book of 2024. The way that this book blew up was kind of insane. I've never seen anything like it. I actually pre-ordered this book way before I heard anything about it. I just saw it, like it got recommended to me by Jeff Bezos. I read the description and I was like, oh my god, that sounds interesting. War College, dragons, sign me up. Not even after a week this book was out, it was just blowing up. Like everybody was obsessed with it. This book was very enjoyable. Sure, it didn't really do anything new. It used a lot of tropes from YA fantasies that I've read a long time ago. The writing was a little bit cringy, but I had so much fun with this book. I didn't love this book as much as everybody else did. I did not give it a 5 stars. I don't think it's the best book I read this year, but it's up there. I really enjoyed this. I'm gonna put this in the best of the rest because this book was just pure fun. Oh my god, the next book immediately before I even tell you the title of it, immediately going on my Ride or Die, and it is going before Jane Eyre. This is Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. This is the 4th book in the Magnolia Parks universe. I love this book. I love this book. I love this book because Julian hates. Julian hates? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna embarrass myself if I even attempt to talk about why and how much I love Julian Hates, but just know that I love him so much. And this book, oh my god, definitely one of my favorite books of the year. Moving on to A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This one is a thriller, and I didn't really like this one all that much, but I didn't dislike it. I thought it was mid. It was like a very run-of-the-mill thriller. And then next up we have If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I'm gonna put this one in not for me. I understand why people love this book, and I think I would have enjoyed this book more had I not read it after I read The Secret History. The story structure, the character archetypes, everything about this book felt like a copy and paste from The Secret History, and then they changed the font. I don't know how to explain it without spoiling either of the two books, but but I can literally write an entire book on the parallels between these two books. So when I was reading this book, I already knew where the story was gonna go. I already knew what was gonna happen. I knew which character was gonna play what role because of how much it reminded me of The Secret History, which you're probably like, why did you not like it if The Secret History is one of your favorite books of the year? I think mostly because the dark academia part of this book was like Shakespearean and thespian based. I'm not very well versed in the theater world at all, and my knowledge of Shakespeare is very limited, and I feel like half of the time that I was reading this book that I was missing out on some of the best parts. In The Secret History, I was able to pick up all the references to like Greek tragedies. Also, in saying that, I don't think that you need to be like a Shakespeare expert or a theater expert to even love this book, but I think for me, I would like this book more if I knew more. That was very long-winded, but moving on to Illuminae by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, I am gonna put this one in the best of the rest above Heartless. It's written in a very interesting way. I read it, I listened to the audiobook while reading it, and that just enhanced my experience even more. I really need to continue this series because this one kind of ended in a pretty crazy cliffhanger. Then we have The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I'm gonna put this one in mid, just above People We Meet on Vacation. This was okay. The writing was very atmospheric, but the story was kind of flat. And then I read The Nanny by Lana Ferguson because, like I said, I really enjoyed the nanny slash single dad aspect of Heartless. So I thought The Nanny, which is a single dad and a nanny romance, I thought I was gonna like it, but they did not like this one at all. Oh, also, I liked If We Were Villains more than First Down, and I also liked The Nanny more than First Down. There's a couple of things that happens in this book that I just did not like. The way that the child was used in the story to further the romance, it was just, I don't know, it did not sit well with me. This book would have been fine if the ending wasn't how it ended. Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. This one's like I guess a thriller that involves older people. This one was Thank You Next. I just like reading about older people being badasses like this. And then I finally had Caraval, which is also one of the oldest books on my physical TBR. It's kind of wild that it took me this long to read this book, but I am gonna put this one in Thank You Next. I really enjoyed this one. The world and the magic was very whimsical. Overall, a very solid YA fantasy. Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. This is another thriller. I think I'm gonna put this one in Thank You Next, just above Priest. I liked it. It's told backwards and there's like a magical realism element to it. That was an interesting thriller. I don't think I've read a thriller like it. And then we have 5 Total Strangers. This is another like thriller, very fast read. I'm gonna put this in thinking. Actually, I'm gonna put this one in mid. Even though this was a very quick, fast-paced read, very entertaining. Overall, it was just kind of okay. And then we have Unravel by Melissa Cassera. This is the sequel to Control. I'm gonna put this one in didn't like, don't recommend. This one is so disappointing, given how much I enjoyed Control. I was really looking forward to this book, but this one just really fell flat to me. It felt messy. It felt like it needed a lot of editing. The story didn't really go anywhere. Like, we didn't make any progress. Half of this book was also told in the point of view of a character that I don't care for. Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. Oh my goodness, my MacBook is about to die. I'm gonna put this one in I'm gonna put this one in best of the rest, but at the very bottom of it. I've enjoyed all of Ali Hazelwood's books that I've read, and this one is no exception. This was a cute romance. It is a little bit cheesy, which is typical of Ali Hazelwood, but I had a good time. I'm gonna move fast because my laptop's about to die. We have it 9 Lives by Peter Swanson. This one is not for me. This one is heavily inspired by And Then There Were None by what's her face by Agatha Christie. I've never read And Then There Were None, but I am familiar with the story. I don't know, I didn't really like the way this was written. This is a thriller, but it dragged for parts of the book, which I feel like a thriller should never feel like it drags, because the point of the thriller is to keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time, and this didn't really do that. Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. It did not like book. Do not recommend. This one's a very big disappointment for me. I did not like this book for similar reasons as to why I did not like The Fraud Squad. It didn't deliver what it promised. The atmosphere was just okay. It was supposed to be like this cozy fall book, but it was just messy. The writing was weird. Just, I don't know. I did not like that one, unfortunately. And then we have Murder in Maman. This is another from the Tito Rosie's cozy mystery series, and I'm gonna put that just right on. Actually, I like this one a little bit more than Blackmail and Bibinka, so I'm gonna put that above that. And then we have Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. This book is literally just The Nightmare Before Christmas, except in novel form, and I love The Night Before Christmas, but like there's nothing remarkably crazy about this book. But it's not mid, because I love The Nightmare Before Christmas story, so it's gonna go in Thank You Next, but I think it's gonna go in the bottom of that. No, you know what? That's not true. I'm gonna put this above Wrong Place, Wrong Time, because I don't know. I love this book, and I really like the writing, actually. The October Society. This one is a short story collection of spooky stories, but there's like an overarching story, like an overarching plot line. I loved this. The writing was so good. So this one is going in the best of the rest, and I think it is gonna go, is it gonna go above Fourth Wing? Maybe not. I think it's gonna go above Flawless. What did I do? Did I just mess that up? Okay, I don't know. I feel like I just messed that up. I don't know what I did. If this part of it is messed up, my bad. Okay, moving on to the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. This series caught me off guard. I mean, I knew that I was gonna like it based on how people are always saying that it's like Criminal Minds, but from the perspective of the serial killer, this book was unhinged, but in the best way possible. I'm gonna put this one in the best of the rest. We have No Place to Hide. This one is a novella. I was filming a Reading Dark Romances video. That video is never gonna see the light of day, and this is one of the books that I picked up for it. And you know what? This was fine. It was very short, but it was entertaining. It's not quite mid. I'm gonna put this in Thank You Next, just right under Priest. Then we have Butcher and Blackbird. This one is a dark rom-com. I've never even heard of that concept, but this was so fun. I really like this one, so I'm gonna put this one in Thank You Next. If you guys like rom-coms, but you also like dark romances, this one might be the one for you. Okay, moving on to Legendary by Caraval. No, Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book in the Caraval trilogy, and I like this one a little bit more than Caraval, and we also meet Jax in this one. I now understand why people are obsessed with Once Upon a Broken Heart, even if I haven't read it yet myself. I think it's because of Jax. The Graham Effect by Al Kennedy. This is another spin-off from the Off-Campus series, but we're now following the kids, Garrett Graham's and Hannah Wells' daughter in this one, and I was so pleasantly surprised by this book. Like, it's very nostalgic because I feel like The Deal in that world is just a very nostalgic read for me, but this was like, I really like this because I didn't really like a lot of the books from the Briar You series, which is a spin-off of the Off-Campus series. I'm gonna put this one in Thank You Next. It's above The Family Game. Okay, next up we have Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is a sequel to Fourth Wing, and a lot of people seem to be very disappointed by this one, and I kind of understand why. It's because obviously a lot of people were expecting so much since like they loved Fourth Wing so much. I wouldn't say I loved this book, but I enjoyed it enough. I definitely did not like it as much as Fourth Wing. This one's gonna go above Murder in Maman. Okay, we are in the home stretch finally. The next book we have is Ivy by Daphne Perry. This one is, how do I explain this? I don't know. It's trying to be Gossip Girl type of romance book. It follows 3 couples. It's my very first Daphne Perry I've ever read. It was okay. It was just mid to me. I feel like I would have enjoyed this more had the couples actually gotten their own separate books, but that's just me. Next up is Never a Hero by Vanessa Len. This one is the sequel to Only a Monster, which is a book that I read last year. I really enjoyed that book, and I really enjoyed this one as well. This is just a really great sequel, so I'm gonna put this one in the best of the rest, just above Love Theoretically. It's YA fantasy that involves time traveling, which I usually don't love time traveling books. This one, I really liked it. I love the romance. Team Aaron, that's all I gotta say. And then I read my only holiday book in a holidays by Christina Lauren. This is also my very first Christina Lauren book I have ever read. It was just okay. I'm typically not the biggest fan of holiday romances, but this one wasn't the most holiday, so I think that's why it was fine, but it still was just mid. The next book is Cage of Dreams. This one is the sequel to City of Nightmares. This one is unfortunately gonna go in the didn't like, don't recommend tier, but I liked it a little bit better than Unravel, so I was gonna go above that. Definitely a really big disappointment. It was just so weird. I did not like being in the main character's point of view in this one. It felt like a self-help book. It was missing a lot of the elements that I liked from the first book. And then the final book that I read in the year was Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This book is in the same universe as Icebreaker, which is a hockey romance. This one's also a hockey romance, kind of. It involves a hockey player, but there's not really a lot of hockey in this one because this one is set at a summer camp. And at first, I was honestly a little bit skeptical about this book because I heard that it was like a one-night stand type of trope, and there was definitely a one-night stand, but it was actually done really well. I enjoyed all of the characters. I thought Russ was adorable. The camp setting was also really fun. This was going on the best of the rest, and I did like it a little bit more than Love Theoretically. We still have a couple of books, and they're all from the same series. It is Spy Family. This is a manga series. I don't really read a lot of manga or graphic novels or anything like that, but I did read 9 volumes of Spy Family this year. This is all gonna go in the same tier because they kind of all blend in together. I'm gonna put all of them in the mid tier just after Ivy. I really enjoy this series. It's a good palate cleanser, but there's also nothing super remarkable about it. That was my dog. The story's kind of okay. He's dreaming. Yep, that's him. He's so cute. Oh, he's so adorable. Anyways, those are all of the books that I read in 2023. It's been a long journey. This has been a hell of a time filming this. So many things went wrong, but we finally got through it. I read more really good books than I thought I did, but I still wish that the top 2 tiers had a little bit more books. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings, and how did your reading go in 2023? I hope you guys had a great holidays. Let's hope for a really great 2024. So I will see you guys on the next video. Toodles!